The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Okay, so I want to welcome everyone. Thank you for coming to our Hangout. By the way, if you've missed any of our previous, what are we calling this, a webinar?
I think we discuss this every week. I don't know. Hangout webinar.
Welcome to our Hangout. So you probably all know that we recently launched our Instant Sales Army program, and actually today is the last day of the launch. Robert, if you can change that screen, I just wanted to call out a success story already. We've got several success stories already, but this is Buford, and I'm not sure if Buford's here or not. Is Buford with us? Let's see.
Not yet, it looks like.
Buford's not here yet, but hats off to Buford, because Buford went out and did something. And it says a coworker at his job took a job selling radio and advertising, and he had lunch, showed him his portfolio, and now he's got a soldier working for him. So way to go, Mr. Buford. I hope, even though he's not live, you can always go to localclientformula.com and watch these Hangouts if you miss them. Encourage you to be here live so that we can answer your questions. And again, it's a no-pitch zone. But hats off to Buford. He went to the Instant Sales Army and started recruiting his soldiers. And if any of you are here and haven't yet gone to Instant Sales Army, today's the last day of the launch, instantsalesarmy.com. So without further ado, we've got a lot to teach. And, while I typically focus a lot on selling, if you sell and you don't deliver, it's kind of useless. Or if you deliver and upset your clients, it's useless. Or if you are doing both. Doing both is the kiss of death for your business, because you will typically have what would look like a roller coaster in terms of income, with big peaks and big valleys. So what happens during the peak? During the peak, you realize that you just sold a bunch of services or products, and now you've got to deliver. So you start sliding down that slope, start doing all of the delivery, and guess what you're not doing when you're delivering? You are not marketing. And so your income takes a big dip. So once you've delivered all of your services, you wake up and you go, oh, crap, I don't have any new business. And so you go out and start selling again. My background was in the mortgage business, and that was the way it was in the mortgage business. It's the way it is in every business that is delivering a service or, even a product. And so you need to decide which part of the fence you want to be on. Do you want to be delivering, or do you want to be selling? The beauty of the partnership that Robert and I have is that we both sell. We have very different styles, as you'll hear, but it's not a right or wrong. We just have different styles. So you shouldn't try to be someone you're not. Be who you are. Be the best who you are. And so, but Robert's really, really good at outsourcing and team building and getting the work assembly line produced. So I'm going to let Robert take over from here, but I'd grab a pen and paper if I were you.
All right. Well, thanks, Brian. All right. So yeah, ready to start. I'm not quite as eloquent a speaker as Brian is, but I have a lot of good stuff to share, and I'm very excited about leading this Hangout today. Let me go back to this screen real quick. Real quick, I know Brian has told his story many times on webinars. I never really told my story, so I'll just tell it very briefly, and how I got to where I am right now.
Hey, Robert, can we just make sure everybody can hear us?
That's a good idea. Can everybody post in the question box if you can hear Brian and I, and if you can see our slides up?
I can see. Heal me.
Great. All right. Thanks so much, everybody. Thanks, Wally. Thanks, Carolyn. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Brad. All right. So here's my story. I graduated college in 2001, and and wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. I wasn't really thrilled with my major. I enjoyed it when I was in college. I was in logistics and transportation. It was a business degree, which was good, I guess, but it wasn't really anything I had any real interest in actually doing. So I kept the job I had been working on after college. During college, after college, it was a full-time position. It paid okay. But my real goal was to work from home, not to make a lot of money, not to build a business, just to work from my house. I just really wanted to be able to work without having to commute and without having to get dressed up and everything. And so that was kind of my goal. And I bought an ebook, my first ebook by Yannick Silver. It's called 33 Days to Online Profits in 2002. And that kind of introduced me to the world of internet marketing. And over the next several years, I did a lot of things. Around 2004, 2005, I actually made pretty good money doing AdWords for affiliate offers, non-internet marketing related affiliate offers, like for banks and for software. And it worked really well. Then Google kind of shut that down by changing what you were allowed to produce. And it was at that point that I realized somehow that I'm actually very good at what's called handicapping, which is picking sports teams to win. I can look at the odds and the data, and somehow I have a knack for picking teams, and I'm a data guy, so I can look at spreadsheets and find patterns, and that's actually what I did. I found a really interesting pattern for the NFL, and ended up writing a book about using this very specific system for betting on the NFL. And
let's stop here for a second.
Sure.
What the hell are we doing in the local client space if you know how to pick games?
Yeah, I know. I did pretty well. My daughter was born in 2007, and I still kept doing that for a while. But then my son was born in 2009, and right before the football season started, and I was just too busy to go. It took me over an hour every day to go through the odds and figure out which teams to pick. And of course, where I live, betting isn't exactly legal. So, the thought of moving to Vegas or something crossed my mind, but never actually did that. So anyway, so that was kind of fun. And so I was in the information marketing space. I had an ebook. It was sold on ClickBank. So that was interesting. And around that time, I decided that I was going to start an offline business. I had been doing a little bit of web design on the side. Started an offline business in my area. Ended up quitting my day job in 2008, April 1st, 2008. So it's been about 5.5 years now, and started this business. We had saved up some money, but really, I was starting from scratch with this offline thing, and had to grow real quick. Did a lot of things wrong, but ended up figuring out how to sell and how to sell for my specific personality and my specific sales style. The way I get clients is very different from the way Brian gets clients. So anyway, my forte, I guess, is actually managing the teams, managing the projects, and when Brian and I became partners a little over a year ago, that's what we ended up, how we ended up kind of partitioning things out. I still do some selling, especially with through people I have relationships with, but I mostly manage the business while Brian mostly sells and creates content. So anyway, today we're going to talk about how to hire an amazing team that helps you convert prospects into clients. This was responsible for when my business went from doing nothing to being a real business that actually made good money. There were a couple of key things that went into that. And the first was really, the main thing was learning that even if I know how to do everything myself, I can't if I really want to grow a business, if I want to make money. Like Brian said, if you're trying to sell, and then you're trying to build, and then you're trying to sell, and then you're trying to build. And I would hire people, and they wouldn't do as good a job as I thought I would do, or they would take a lot longer to do the job than I thought than it would take me. And what I learned is that doesn't matter. It's you still have to do it, and and you can keep hiring someone till you find the best possible person. But if you're not having other people take care of your fulfillment, then you're doing it wrong, basically. So I wrote down basically a couple slides on how to hire this team and how they can help you convert your prospects into clients. And for me, yes, go ahead.
We have a question from Jason.
How are the Texans going to do? I don't know. I haven't even looked at the odds this whole football season. I'm not even sure if the system works anymore. It worked for 10 years going backwards, and I did it going forwards for 3 or 4 years, but stopped even looking at it around 2009. So, so yeah, I don't know how the Texans are going to do. I'm sorry.
Well,
So
there's a 50% chance they'll win and a 50% chance they'll lose, but
that is correct. So yeah. So before Brian and I became partners, and Brian took over most of the sales duties, I actually had the designs that my team created do the converting for me to turn prospects into clients and to get my foot in the door with people in the first place. And that's something that anybody can do if that's what you're looking to do. So first you need to figure out what you need your team to do. What services will they provide? For me, originally it was mostly website design and development. Building a site for a client, putting it online. Now it's a wide variety of services. So we have a much larger team that's focused on specific aspects. So we have somebody that works on SEO, somebody that works on design and design, a couple people that work on development. We also have administration staff, people that their job is to kind of coordinate everything and also to do more basic things. I'll say, this is what needs to happen on this site, and they'll do what they can. They'll change some text, they'll move some images, they'll use the dashboard to make some changes in WordPress. And then when there's other things that they don't know how to do, they'll get in touch with one of the coders and have them actually make more technical changes. That way, that's good because administrative staff usually is less expensive than developers, but also you kind of have someone managing it there. So I know everybody offers something different. I know a lot of people offer SEO. Some people are more like us and focus primarily on mobile apps, mobile websites, and website design. But once you've decided what you're going to have people do for you, you need to figure out what processes you can outsource. Really, you can outsource most things. Anything that's not client contact, you can very easily outsource to a service like Odesk or Elance or Fiverr. And when you're trying to determine what specific processes you want to outsource, at least which ones you want to outsource first, think of what takes up most of your time. For me, it was coding. It was actually taking the design and turning it into a website that I could launch for the client. It wasn't difficult, but it just took a long time. So that was the very first thing that I outsourced. The second thing I outsourced was design. I could design a nice site, but when I saw what some of the designers on Odesk could do, it made me say, these designs are better than mine, and I don't have to spend 5 hours creating a nice design for someone. I can hire this person to do a design for $20, $25, and save all that time. My time's worth a lot more than $5 or $8 an hour. So that's freeing me up to do more selling and to do more other things to grow the business. So that's the questions you need to ask. And once you ask yourself those questions and write it all out, you'll know what you need to do, what you need to hire for. One moment. Okay, so where to find the best providers. I've used a couple different services over the years, but right now I almost exclusively use Odesk and have for several years, especially for consistent work. For a designer that I want to design several sites a month for, and especially for someone that's working full-time. For those of you who have never used Odesk before, the hourly employees actually track their time on Odesk, so you can see screenshots of what they're doing while they claim to be working for you. So that's an easy way to make sure they're doing what they say they're going to do, and if they don't, then you don't have to pay. You can file a dispute with Odesk very easily. But Odesk takes care of everything, and they have a huge base of providers, and in my experience, it's not difficult to find some very, very high-quality providers using Odesk. For small jobs, if I need, like for SEO or something, if I need backlinks sent to a video or a site we've created or something like that, I'll use Fiverr. We're actually using Fiverr a little bit more now than we have in the past. But for actual long-term tasks, we always use Odesk. So the first thing you need to do is to post your ad. And this is there's a little more to it than it seems like. This is important. What your ad says is important. And what I do is I'm very casual. I just say, hey, I run a business. We're looking for somebody that can do this. Here's some examples of what we've done in the past, and this is kind of what we're looking for. If you're interested, let me know. If it's a potential full-time position, I'll usually say, we're looking for some people to test out on a few projects, but if we like your work and we work well together, this could be a full-time position. So if you're available for a full-time position, be sure to let me know in your application. And always use a check phrase. That, for me, I usually just say somewhere near the bottom, but not all the way at the bottom. I say when you fill out your application, when you reply, start with "Hello, Robert." Those should be the first two words of your application. If those aren't the first two words of your application, you'll automatically be not considered for the job. I know some people like to put just weird words like, write "purple banana" somewhere in your application. I found, because so many people just have a template they write, and it just says "Dear Sir" or "Madam," or it says "Dear Hiring Manager," and this kind of makes sure that they've actually read the position, they know what my name is, and they're actually applying for my job specifically. And that weeds out a lot of the people that they see a job that mentions design or that mentions PHP, and they just apply without even looking at it. And they may not be right for the job. They may not work the hours that I'm asking for. They may not be good at the specific tasks that I've mentioned. And as far as explaining the job, but don't go into too much detail, I've seen jobs that just go on for paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs about what they need. And unless you have a very specific task that has very, very stringent requirements, I wouldn't have more than a couple paragraphs just kind of telling them who you are and what you're looking for. That keeps it very light and allows you to focus during the interview process. Jason says we have some echoing going on. Is that on your end, Brian?
I'm not yodeling, am I?
No, I think my voice is coming through your speaker.
Oh. Don't know what to tell you.
All right, see if you can put yourself on mute when you're not talking. That'll probably fix it.
I thought you wanted to put me on permanent mute. Okay, here we go.
All right, so one moment, I'm just going to get a drink of water real quick. Okay, so anyway, let's use development as an example. So I've mentioned that I need people that can work in PHP and particularly WordPress, because that's what we do most of our websites in, and that can maybe write some software that generates PDF files. And so I've kind of mentioned all that in the job posting, and now 78 people have applied. It's very easy to go through the list and delete anyone that didn't use the check phrase, and I can see that right at the beginning. If it doesn't say "Hello, Robert," I just remove them. Then I sort by price usually, and starting from the lowest price, just kind of go through each application very briefly and shortlist those that look like they could be decent. And then, by the end, I've usually shortlisted 10 or 12 people, and then I'll go back through that shortlist and look at their portfolio, look at their ratings, look at their experience, their resume, and I'll choose about 5 that look like they could be good. And then I'll hire all of them. And this is the key, and this is where a lot of people mess up. This is where a lot of people get frustrated because they hire somebody and it doesn't work out. And then, like, man, now I have to go through that whole process again. Not everyone on Odesk is good. Not everyone is going to be good. No matter how many 5-star ratings they have, no matter how many hours they've spent on WordPress or on Odesk, not everyone is going to be good. Not everyone is going to be a good fit for you. So I hire at least 5 providers and give them all a task. Sometimes it's the same if it's not a task for a specific client. If I'm looking for some kind of script created or something like that. But a lot of times I'll just give them each a different small task, whether it be a test task or something for an actual client. And then that gives us a chance to see how good they are. And I'll go into that more in a second. But when you're determining who to hire, don't assume that higher price means better work. there have been plenty of times where I've said, we need to hire some new coders. These guys look like they know what they're doing, and they're charging more than I'd like to pay, but, I bet they're going to be a little better than the team we have now, than the people we have now, and maybe they would be a great addition to our team. Let's hire some people at this higher rate. And again, I'll hire 5 people like that, and there have been times when none of them have been good. And the really good, the people that work the best are the lower priced people. So it's not good to assume that a higher price means they're going to be better, even on the whole. A lot of great coders don't charge high prices. A lot of great everything doesn't charge high prices. So okay, so we talked about this a little bit. So give them all a project, and you can see how well they respond to your deadlines. Do you have to explain things multiple times? That's a big pet peeve of mine. I want to be able to send a project to them and have them do it. If I didn't explain it correctly, well, then that's a problem, and that's my problem. But if I explained everything in detail and they come back and say it's done and it's not, that's a problem. That's not the kind of person I want to have long term on my team. If they say it's done, and then I ask them, well, why wasn't this part done? And they say, oh, I couldn't figure that part out. Well, first of all, if they couldn't figure out that part, then it's not done. And second of all, I am a below average coder, and if I can do it, then I know that a professional coder should be able to do it. Look it up. If you don't know how to do something, look it up on Google. Everything you could possibly want to know about how to do something is on Google. So, but overall, is their work good? And that's the biggest takeaway from it. Do they do good work? And every 5 people we hire, usually we find about one provider who stands out. One provider who does good work, is responsive, and seems to have a good head on their shoulders. And so now we bring them on for more work. We tell them, hey, we like your work. We're going to give you some more projects. And and maybe let them know we're looking for somebody full time. If you're interested, are you interested in that? What kind of hours can you work? And let them know that that's still at least a few weeks out, while you give them some more projects to work with them on. and then just assign them more projects. Continue to see how you work with them. You've had good experience so far with them. See how much better they do, and constantly reassess. So keep on checking their work, determining if they're still a good fit for you. Sometimes people get complacent. Fortunately, not often. If you go through this process and you hire the person that stands out, it doesn't happen a lot. But sometimes you'll hire somebody, they'll do good work at first, and then you'll hire them full time, and they'll start to get lazy. They'll do work that they should be able to do in 20 hours, and it takes them 40 hours. And so when you're giving projects to people, when they send it back to you, like Brian likes to say, you have to inspect what you expect. So you give them clear goals, and then when they're done, you have to inspect it and make sure they did it right. You have to tell them how to do it, what to do, how to do it, why to do it, and what you expect, and a deadline, of course. And so constantly reassess and keep your team good and new, I guess you could say. We probably at least a few times a year, even though we already have a team that we're happy with, we'll go through this process and see if we can find someone else who stands out, who can maybe come in a pinch. We can let them know right now it's just part-time work, but if we need you in the future, maybe we'll have full-time work for you, but certainly make no promises. And then if somebody needs to leave the team for whatever reason, or if we grow more and need a new team member, we already have somebody that we've tested and that we know does good work. So as you scale, when I first started, no one was full-time. And as I grew, I ended up hiring one person full-time, and then Brian and I partnered up, and now we have several people that work full-time, all doing different things. And the best thing I ever did was turning my best administrative personnel into a project manager. So she was the one that did a lot of good stuff with WordPress, and she learned all my processes. She learned how to use WP Twin to put up a new or to move a new WordPress website, and she learned how to use WP Mobile Pro to build a mobile website. She learned how to use our app platform. She learned, along the way, she learned a little bit about how to edit minor PHP and use an FTP client and things like that. And so just by virtue of working with us for a long time, she did really well. She learned about our business and became a very valuable provider, administrator. And then I spoke with her one day and I said, look, we want to scale, and here's how I want to do it. I don't want to manage my providers anymore. I don't want to manage developers. I don't want to manage designers. I want you to manage them. I want to give you a project and have you decide who needs to work on it, who has time to work on it, who can work on it best, and what you can do, what a developer can do, what a graphic designer needs to do, and manage all of that. And she was happy to do that, and it works out great. So that was the best decision I ever made as far as turning our providers into a team. And so now we're a real team. We have Brian and I heading up everything. Our project manager heads up the team itself. And though Brian and I work directly with our team members as well, she's their main point of contact, and that helps us not be bogged down with a lot of minutia. So, and as I mentioned, constantly test and hire new providers. We're always doing that. So that's the gist of it. So if there are any questions, please type them in the question box.
I'm unmuting myself.
That's great.
I thought I was going to hear some big round of applause. Well, it's what you gave is really, really good, solid content, and it's actually a lesson for all of you too. If I may, Robert, while people are typing in, you might want to, re-listen to what Robert said, because it's really important. You have to tell them what to do. You have to tell them how to do it. You have to tell them why they're doing it this way. And then, as the famous Ronald Reagan said, trust but verify, or inspect what you expect. All of those steps are really, really important. But what I want to say here is, some of you are thinking about partnerships, because several of our private clients that Robert and I work with have expressed that. And I just want to tell you, the reason it works for Robert and I, we are very, very different. Not better or worse, just very, very different. And if you have two marketing people as partners, they're going to kill each other. And if you have two providers, technical people, they may work okay together, but they're not going to make any sales, so they won't be working together very long. So you really need to make sure that when you're looking for a partner that you have complementary skills, okay? Robert can sell without me. I can sell without Robert. Robert can deliver without me. I can't deliver without Robert. So, it's kind of important for you all to understand that. No, a partner is not a requirement. No, it's not. Robert's just shown you how to do this without having a partner, just hiring out the work, which is a great thing to do. So, any questions anyone has?
I see one question about, have we tried hiring in the Philippines or overseas? And the answer is yes. Pretty much our entire team is overseas. I think we have a few people from the Philippines, including our graphic designers from the Philippines. So yeah, most of our team is overseas. There's a few very small projects that we have ongoing that require someone with a perfect command of English. And for that, we hire people in the U.S. or Canada, if possible, I guess.
Hey, Robert, should we give them the $1 million idea, or should we hold it back?
I don't know what it is, so go for it.
Yes, you do. We just talked about it.
We did? Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
Where to find really, really, really cheap help.
Sure. You can do it.
So Brad Bradley, that's like a famous TV name. He's got a question.
What do we pay them? It really depends. Let's see. I mean, developers we usually pay, somewhere in the range of $5 or $6 an hour. Same with graphic designers. Actually, similar for our admin. Our admin has been working with us a long time, and we couldn't do anything without her. So she's gotten several raises over the years. So she gets paid a little more than them, I think. But and then other than that, it depends. For the people in the U.S., we obviously pay them a lot more. More like $10 to $15, depending on the type of work they're doing. When you post a listing and you get the people responding, you can get a pretty good idea of what that type of service is typically worth. You'll get some bids that are like $1 an hour. And I always take a look at those because you never know. Sometimes it's somebody that's trying to build up their credibility on Odesk. They're new. They're looking for a full-time job or whatever. But most people will be within a very specific range for any task, and that gives you a good idea of what the going price is for that task. We had a small project that dealt with custom mobile apps. We use an app platform, so we usually don't need custom mobile apps. So we ended up posting a listing for just consulting regarding custom mobile apps, and the prices for those were a lot higher than anything else we do. It was more in the $20 to $30 an hour range. But again, we could look at all the prices and see sort of a bell curve, I guess, of prices and know where the going rate was for that type of work. So let's see. So at those rates, if a developer suddenly takes twice as much time, do you quote the project well enough to accommodate those types of surprises? Yes. Well, when we hire people, we don't usually hire them for a specific project. Sometimes we do, and if we do, we ask them. If we're hiring them for something very specific and we need a firm price, we will hire them per the project. So they will actually bid $200 or whatever the price would be for a specific project instead of hourly. But most of what we do is hourly, and when I'm thinking of what to quote for a project, I think, how many hours will this take my team? How many hours should this take my team? And then I usually assume that it'll take them twice that much, just in case. That way there aren't any surprises. So yes, and over time, as we work with developers, we get a better feel for how much time they take on various tasks and can more accurately think that out in the first place. So let's see. So yeah, so those are the general rates. Usually designers, developers, administrative staff, usually in the $4 to $8 range. I would say you can usually find somebody pretty high quality. We've for the more basic work, we also have some people doing nothing but very basic loading sites and setting them up based on a very specific set of instructions that we've already written out. And for that type of work, you can usually find people even cheaper because there's very little technical knowledge involved. It's just, or skill set involved. It's just knowing how to use a computer, knowing how to follow instructions. And even then, it's not always easy to find somebody who can do it really well. But if you test people, for that particular task I just mentioned, we hired 6 people, and only one of them turned out to do it well. Some of them probably could have, but they needed a lot of hand-holding. And we were looking for somebody that we could give these instructions to that we had written out very comprehensively and who could follow them without any trouble. And that's what we ended up finding. And it worked out perfect.
Hey, Robert, give them the super secret.
I think you should give them the super secret bonus because I'm not 100% sure what you're talking about.
Well, UMBC, how's that for a hint?
Oh, okay. Yeah, so we were talking the other day about hiring people from the local college like sort of a work study type program. That's not something that I have a lot of experience with, but I know people that have. I remember talking to Rockstar Ben. I know he does this a lot with his business, and I know
We
other
need
people.
it all the time at Glazer Kennedy.
Right, and Brian obviously has experience doing it as well. So uh, one thing that you can do is go to the colleges. We applied to be a employer partner or whatever it's called with the college the other day, and they can help us find people that are interested in working for us part time, and they will cover half of the cost of them. So if we're paying them $12 an hour, we'll only have to actually pay $6 an hour. So it works out great for the student because they get experience. It works out great for the college because they're placing the student in a place where they can get experience. And it works out great for us because now we have low-cost help that can be in our office and actually work with us instead of having to be remote. So yeah, so that's the $1 million idea we discussed the other day, and we're putting that into action right now. Actually, I'm very excited about that because it'll be nice to have some more people in the office.
Okay, do we have any more questions, or we're going to get back to work? We got stuff to do. Did you say college pays half their wages?
It
Yep.
depends. I mean, there certainly are colleges that do, and my understanding is that this college that we're working with does. So, but it depends on the college and what their program is like.
I mean, not only does this college pay it, by the way, but this college has computer science majors and masters, people going for their masters in computer programming and computer engineering, and you can get them for $12, of which you pay $6. And they can sit right in front of you. So there's no language, well, I shouldn't say there's no language barrier, because we hired one time from this same college when I was running the Glazer Kennedy web store, and the guy was from Japan, and I didn't understand a word he said, and he didn't understand a word I said, but I used to point and he would do it.
So yeah, so I guess there still could be a language barrier, but no. But it's nice to be face to face. You can
Well,
see what they're doing. You can give them projects. You can discuss things with them, and kind of brainstorm a little on the best way to go about a certain task, especially for like developers and such.
well, and let's go even further, because everybody has a high school near them, and whether it's a private or public school, most of these schools also have work study for their seniors. So present yourself as an agency, which you all are, and you might have a college kid there who's a journalism, kid who, wants to go to school to be a journalist, and they can start writing articles.
Absolutely.
And by the way, those are free.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
all right, I guess we don't have any other questions. So what do you think, Robert? Let's get back to work.
Let's get back to work. There's a lot to do today. So, all right. Well, thanks everyone.
If you didn't grab the Instant Sales Army yet, better grab it. InstantSalesArmy.com. Today's the end of the launch.
All right. Thanks, Brad. Thanks, Carolyn. And we will see everyone next week.